The issue I chose to focus my video on and my research on is the victimization of young African American girls. So, to begin with, I started by focusing on a study that was found in our textbook, and it was done by the author named Miller. The author researched the social context in which young girls and women of color are victimized in their communities and in schools, and how the social context of it affects them. One thing that I found in this study is that young girls are victimized in their neighborhoods more than anywhere else. These are neighborhoods in which drug dealing is a main thing happening, where street gangs are very common, and where violence is very common as well. The girls in these disadvantaged neighborhoods faced high risk in male dominated areas. For this reason, the girls in this study stated that they had little plans to help each other out, such as not going out when it was too dark, not going out to the street alone, staying out of dark places. And these were preventative methods that were put in place by them because they felt a concern for their safety, because they stated that that they had sexual come-ons by young men and sexual harassment by older men just by walking down the street by themselves. And a lot of these girls that were victims of sexual harassment or sexual assault or coercion stated that they blame themselves for wearing clothing that's too revealing, that's too provocative, but that was not the actual reason why this is happening. That's just a way of them victim blaming themselves for what happened to them, when in reality they were victims. Um, so in schools, girls in the study reported that they had been touched inappropriately or had sexual comments made to them by classmates or by other staff in their school, and that when they reported these concerns to school personnel, that the teachers would either get them in trouble or get both of the people, which is the girl and the person saying the inappropriate comment or touching them inappropriately, in trouble, just because that was the easiest thing to do. And they didn't take it serious, so these girls did not feel safe coming forward to a school personnel because they didn't take them serious. So Miller also found that one half of the girls in the study, which the average age is 16, were victims of sexual violence at least once in their lifetime. Moving on, according to a study published by Berkeley Journal of Gender, Law, and Justice, stated that, and I quote, "Sexual harassment in schools has a disparate impact on Black girls and young women. Their harassment is often more public, more violent, and inflicts longer-term damage than that of their non-Black peers." This kind of goes back to what Miller found in her research, saying that their harassment happens in school hallways as they walk down the street, and it could be from inappropriate comments or inappropriate touching, such as wanting to, most of these girls reported that they want to slap them behind as they are walking by. Young males want to slap them behind when they are walking by. And this is kind of normal, that they should shake it off, but this makes them feel unsafe. And the longer term damage part goes back to what I was saying, that these girls blame themselves for their clothing or for walking too late at night, which is not the case. Like I mentioned before, they're victims. They're not at fault for other people's actions towards them. Also, in a report by the Chicago Defender, the author stated that African American youth accounted for 87% of drug dealing offenses, and this is a high issue that correlates with the at-risk communities that these girls live in, because where there's more drug dealing, where there's more street gangs, these are the communities where African American girls are victims of sexual harassment. So that statistic is or correlates directly to this problem that's going on. So from that, one solution that I think will help, um, well, while there are no simple solutions, effective ways to deal with these issues is to focus on the root of the problem, which is starting with making disadvantaged neighborhoods safer, which is maybe by passing policies that will help this community come up, more economic growth, better schools, better programs, more confidence in the police, and for school personnel to take complaints more serious and provide stable mentors and counselors for girls to talk to, not just young African American girls, all the girls, but specifically for this problem is victims of sexual assault. One program that I found that works with this cause is the Insight Women of Color Against Violence, and it is a feminist group organizing to end violence in home and communities. They provide healing for Black survivors of sexual violence, and they are sponsored with allied media projects. So if you go on their website, you'll find a lot of articles that help victims of by stating, basically by putting out information out there that it's not their fault. Or also they provide tips on how you can avoid it or stay safer. They provide resources for coping, and they just don't work with young African American girls. They work with Hispanic girls, all Latina girls, basically women of color and in the trans community. They work with all women. Their statement is that they will try to work to avoid women being in these uncomfortable situations by male and society. So overall, I think Insight is a good website to get information on, and a group that does help all women. If you need more information on Insight, their website just has a whole bunch of information, such as like the programs they do, the links they offer, some articles, some research. They also have a page to donate, and when you donate, it gives you an option for 10, 25, 30, or just any amount, and this helps them create events in communities for girls to attend to, and also for victims of sexual assault or of domestic violence or discrimination. It helps pay for the resources they need to help these women. So that's all for my video.